Think Philippines, think islands, lots of them, 7,641 to be precise, and they came to be because of volcanoes and plate tectonics and stuff like that. And the people on these islands somehow came together, well, after a long and complicated history, to form the country we know today. The Philippines. Not Philippines, the Philippines. One of the few the countries, like the Gambia, the Netherlands, and this is derived from the 16th century oh so fashionable King of Spain, King Philip II. Anyway, a big warm welcome to episode 3. Today we explore one of these islands, the island and province of Cebu. In episode 2, we explored Cebu City. Today, we leave the city and immerse ourselves in the beautiful nature of Cebu Island. Then in episode 4, we go to Bohol, 5 down to Siquijor, and 6 over to Palawan. You get the idea. And for each of these islands and videos, I will share with you my recommended itinerary. We begin in Cebu City, right where we left off, which is where your trip is likely to start. Many international and domestic connections start and finish in Cebu. I would recommend spending anywhere from 3 to 5 days to explore Cebu Island. Maybe add on an additional 2 days if you want to explore Cebu City. If so, check out episode 2. I did a top 5 things to do in Cebu City. You're still here, so I'm assuming you want to immediately immerse yourself in the beautiful nature of Cebu Island. In that case, let's hit the road. And to do that, I really suggest renting out a motorbike or a small scooter. They are really convenient, they are cost effective, and most of all, they are fast, flexible, and offer you a lot of freedom. I rented my bike in Cebu City at ZG Motorbike Rentals. And once you've got your set of wheels, let the nature-filled adventure begin. En route to Moalboal. To get there, you will need to cross over the island by going up into the hills, and it's a really beautiful nature ride in itself. You'll find yourself surrounded by rolling hills, coconut trees. On the way, make sure to take a refreshing break at the Mayantupan Waterfall, a tall, majestic waterfall in the jungle that not so many tourists go to. Later that same day, roll up to Moalboal. Moalboal is a super scenic seaside town situated on a peninsula. It's a really great spot for snorkeling and diving, and there's this underwater cliff with lots of incredible marine life. And side note, while you're packing for your trip to the Philippines, make sure to include a pair of goggles or a snorkel so that you can stop pretty much anywhere and explore the underwater world instead of having to rely on renting on each and every beach, which isn't always possible. Okay, back to the video.
I'm in Moalboal, about to go swim with the Sardines. I've seen incredible photographs where you get enclosed by these walls of sardine fish. And there's also meant to be some good turtles. Quite excited. This is my first time going into the sea in the Philippines.
I saw an abundance of sardines pretty much immediately, and I also got close to a green sea turtle. If you're interested in doing your scuba diving license while you're traveling in the Philippines, Moalboal is a really great place to do that. They have lots of different dive shops, and the town itself is really laid back. It's also really social, so a really good place to spend a couple days. And most of all, the marine life is really good. Later that night, I spent in Moalboal in a hostel called the Pig Dive Hostel, although there's lots of high-end resorts, but also really low-end bamboo bunk bed options. Whatever you're after, they've got it. Today, we drive down the coast alongside the turquoise water towards the Kawasan waterfalls, and on the way, you will pass by many beautiful beaches and also other waterfalls. However, Kawasan waterfalls are the most popular in Cebu, and when you arrive at the entrance of the waterfalls, you have to walk along this jungle trail, and you come out to find 3 levels of waterfalls, each one with their own pool, which is really quite cool. When I went, it was overrun with people, which included myself, which made it impossible to take good photos and videos, which is what I really enjoy doing. But if you're anything like me, I would instead recommend checking out the nearby Luzno Falls, or alternatively, the Dao Falls, which is a 30-minute trek into the jungle. Once you've had your dose of waterfalls, continue the scenic seaside drive around the tip of Cebu and back up towards Oslob. And on my way, I took a break to sit back, relax, and catch the sunset with some goats before continuing the drive up to Oslob. And Oslob is a small seaside village. There's not much to see and do, but it is known as the best place to swim with whale sharks. And if this is something you intend on doing, I would recommend staying at Sharky's Hostel right next to the whale shark viewing site. So at 4 a.m. when they wake you up, you will be the very first people in the queue to see the whale sharks with a hopefully beautiful sunrise, while all the other people, probably coming from Cebu City or from some faraway resort, they will end up having to queue for many hours under the baking hot sun. Okay, let's move to the next morning. Well, it's more like the middle of the night, but this is what our sunrise whale shark outing looked like. I do feel the need to step in and say that this whale shark viewing experience is somewhat controversial because basically they feed the whale sharks their plankton every day, so the whale sharks, they are always there, a place that they may not normally be in, and so in many ways they've been somewhat domesticated, and now they depend on this touristic activity to receive food, and this has made them less capacitated to care for themselves, which is not good. But on the flip side, because they can now generate tourism revenue, the local fishermen, they now choose to protect them, whereas in the past they were seen as more of a pest. Do note that you can see them in the wild, it is just much harder and you have to go much deeper. After your morning outing, you have now seen a good amount of Cebu Island. If you're ready to move on, I can recommend the following. One is going to Siquijor, the Island of Fire. You can get a ferry to Siquijor from a ferry station not too far from Oslob down south, but if you have your motorbike, you may need to return that to Cebu City. So another option is driving back up to Cebu City and getting a ferry to Bohol, which I will cover in the next episode. Or if you do have more time to explore Cebu Island and you have your diving qualifications, one thing I would recommend is going up to the north of Cebu Island and taking a ferry to Malapascua. There you can go scuba diving with thresher sharks, which is something I did not do, but is something I wish I had done. This brings us to the end of episode 3 of the Philippines travel series. Big thanks for tuning in. And if you know Cebu and I forgot anywhere important, feel free to mention it in the comment section below. Let us help our aspiring travelers plan the best trip possible for themselves. And fingers crossed that can happen sooner than later. And lastly, if you haven't yet subscribed, now might be your very last chance to get in before we hit 1,000. That's it from me for now. I hope to see you in episode 4 in Bohol, 5 Siquijor, 6 over in Palawan. Until then, take good care.